All right, good morning, Florida. My name is Francine Engel. I am a judge from Maryland. I'm a political scientist and constitutional scholar. I work with the Maryland Council for Civic and History Education, and I'm a lecturer part-time at University of Maryland.
My name is Jocelyn Broman. I am a We the People alumni. I competed back in 2006. I currently work on Capitol Hill for Representative Paul Cook of California.
And I'm Mike Miles from Birmingham, Alabama. I'm the county treasurer in Jefferson County, and I'm close enough to you where, because it's been raining up here for a few days, I wish I had driven down to where you are to be at today. So, thank y'all for doing this, and thank y'all for letting us meet with you this morning. We're delighted.
All right, if you could introduce yourselves, please.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Madison Metz, and I am one of the kids from the unit. Yeah.
Welcome.
I think my partner might be frozen again.
Frozen.
There she is.
Okay, well, that's Frank Valetti. We're Unit 4. I'm Alexis Bernstein, and this is our teacher, Mrs. Everett.
Okay. Now, do you know, can Frank hear even though his picture's frozen?
I don't know. I'm going to text him.
Okay. Should I go ahead and read the question? I don't want.
Let's hold on one second. I just want to make sure Frank can hear us. More importantly, that we can hear Frank. So, Frank, if you can hear us, just say something.
Honestly, I think he's going to need to call in.
Yeah.
This is Unit 4, right?
Yes.
It is.
Okay. I mean, I have the number here. Does somebody want to text him the number? I can read it if you don't. Oh, you are? Okay. Do you need me to read you the number?
Oh, no, I have it.
It should
Thank you.
be in the
Great.
email I sent you.
He'll need the.
And you have 3 on the unit, correct?
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
He'll need the meeting ID as well, and also his participant ID, which is his user ID from Zoom.
So his Pine Crest email.
Yep.
Thank you all for being so.
Doing this.
Don't worry.
It's
We'll
just
wait
all
on
about
that.
your kids. We want to make this the best experience for them as possible, and we know it's crazy times. But so Frank just went back out, I think.
Yeah.
Frank's having some computer problems, and he has to restart it so he can access the Google Doc, but I'm going to send him a screenshot of our prepared statement.
And if you just
Great idea.
call in, that would probably, if you just do it on the phone too, that'll work.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling him.
Alexa, thank you for doing that.
Yes.
No problem.
Chris, the main thing I know about my computer is you can't put a red 8 on a red 9. You can only put a black 8 on a red 9. That's what I know.
Sure. They're important lessons.
Right, very.
Oh, goodness. I just love how it works perfectly every time we practice, and then the real deal, it's just not working.
Of course.
It's all good, Madison.
Get him in here.
He's working on it.
Okay.
No problem. We have time. Don't worry about it.
Good.
Yes.
Besides that, Mark Gage loves a challenge. He likes to get it.
Absolutely.
We don't want it to be
Absolutely.
too boring for you, Mark.
No.
Mark, that's an impressive library you're in front of, Mark.
Yeah, my own private library. Oh, here he is. He's calling in.
All right.
We're gonna admit. All right.
There he is.
Hello.
Hey, Frank.
Hello.
Hello. I'm very sorry for the technological delays. My apologies.
You're completely okay. Hey, before we get started, we want to make sure you're okay. Have you got your 4-minute speech in front of you?
Yes, I do.
You guys are good to go. All right, so is everybody good to go?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm going to turn it back over to the judges. Mark and Alexis, both thank you so much for your help on that.
All right, so I will go ahead and read the question, and then when I'm done, you can start, okay? All right, so you have question 3. Article 1, Section 4 of the Constitution provides that state legislatures can determine, you know what, I am sorry. I don't think we introduced ourselves or anything, did we?
Did we?
Did we? We did. Okay.
If you have any questions about who we are, just let us know. We'll be sure to tell you.
All right.
Article 1, Section 4 of the Constitution provides that state legislatures can determine the times, places, and manners of holding elections for senators and representatives, yet give Congress the power to make or alter such regulations. What are the advantages and disadvantages of the uniform election process? What responsibility do state legislatures, state election officials, and citizens have in maintaining free and fair elections? What are the advantages and disadvantages of the trustee and delegate theories of representation as they apply to congressional districts?
The benefits of the benefits of a state-run election practice is that it allows for the 50 states to be laboratories, not just of democracy, but of the actual democratic process. In the past few years, California and other states have experimented with so-called jungle primaries and ballot harvesting. These experiments may result in increased voter participation and efficiency and may be models for other states to follow. This system of state-run elections, however, also has a dark history in the United States of America, particularly in the Jim Crow era. Southern states required a series of literacy tests, for example, before granting people the right to vote, but the tests exclusively prohibited African Americans from voting. These are well-known examples of how states abuse their autonomy in the democratic process, demanding federal attention. The advantage of Congress being able to alter such regulations is evident in cases where the states are abusing their authority. Lastly, when Congress creates a uniform election process, it allows voters in diverse states to have confidence that the elections being held in other states, over which they have no control, are being held to a minimal acceptable standard. Another example that requires federal regulation is campaign finance, which sets a uniform national standard for how much money can be donated to a politician. Although it is not perfect, this gives voters on a nationwide basis confidence in the integrity of their elections.
State legislatures, election officials, and even individual citizens all have an important role in ensuring free and fair elections. State legislatures must pass laws that clearly define the election rules and procedures with sufficient penalties should those laws be violated. The legislature, with the power of the purse, also is obligated to adequately fund the process. Voting machines need to be maintained, kept up to date, and inspected, all of which requires sufficient funding. State election officials have an enormous role in keeping elections fair and free. There are federal laws requiring the maintenance of voter rolls. Free and fair elections require that all the individuals listed on a voter roll are, in fact, eligible to vote, current residents of the state, and have not voted in multiple jurisdictions. These officials must also ensure that all voters on election day have access to the polls, that the polls are adequately staffed, and that no voter suppression is occurring. When the vote is over, election officials have the responsibility to guarantee that the vote is properly conducted. Lastly, the Secretary of State is the election official responsible for certifying the outcome of the election and passing it along to federal authorities. Although one might think the citizens' only responsibility is to vote, citizens can actually play a much bigger role in the election process. Citizens can volunteer to be poll watchers and fill other election integrity roles and have an obligation to keep their registrations up to date and to inform election officials of any changes in their status. They should also report any voting violations that they observe to the proper authorities.
Under the trustee theory of representation, the representative is acting in the best interest of the constituent, even if at that moment in time the constituents appear to want something completely different. A lawyer in a trial will advise their client on a course of action based on the lawyer's professional experience. Similarly, a representative may take a vote that is not popular but represents the best long-term interest of their district and perhaps the country at large. The representative has until the next election to convince the voters that their vote was indeed the correct choice. If a representative continuously angers the people they represent, they will expect to be voted out. In the delegate system, on the other hand, the representative is expected to vote precisely the way the constituents demand. This system has the advantage of being closer to a direct democracy, yet delegates the actual day-to-day process to governing to the representative. The drawback of the system is that sometimes the passions of the people can be aggravated by dramatic events or an unscrupulous leader. Without the safeguard of the trustee system, the citizens could demand their delegate to vote for something that is not within their short or long-term goals.
All right, thank you. You talked about how literacy tests in the era of Jim Crow, how that disenfranchised some African Americans. Do you feel that there are any groups that are still disenfranchised today?
Well, we can look at felon voting throughout the country. Many times when someone is incarcerated and then they're eventually set free, they aren't allowed to vote even though they're no longer held by the system. So Florida actually just voted to allow felons to be able to vote after they're let free with, I think it was Amendment 4.
So going to the trustee and delegate question, what system do you think the U.S. Congress uses?
Overall, in my opinion, I believe we see many representatives and senators that continue to stand with the trustee, the mind of acting for the best interests of their constituents. And so, for example, many Americans today, when I come to think of it, many Americans support the use of marijuana, for example, across the country. However, there are many states, specifically senators and representatives, who are still sticking with their party beliefs rather than the mindset of the individuals that they represent within their state, and still choose to not act and legalize marijuana across the entire country. And so in that case, we see a clear division between true politicians who are not, of course, not really acting with the mindset of the individuals they represent. So that's why, for example, we continue to see in the U.S. A lack of a mandate that legalizes marijuana across the country.
I think it's a little bit of both with our congressional system. So, for instance, many times when a delegate uses the trustee theory, like with their own voting practices, I feel like they're more likely to get voted out of office because the voters start to lose trust in them. But I think we more follow a delegate system of representation because the congressmen know that if they don't follow their voters, what's the right word? Their voters' wants, then they'll be voted out of office.
We hadn't talked too terrible much today about the redistricting cases in the 1960s, but there were some. You see a practice called cracking and packing today. We've got one black district in Alabama, and it's 88% black. They just took every black voter from 13 or 14 counties and packed them in. We've seen several states this morning, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, that have as many senators as Florida. If somebody asked you if we still practice one man, one vote in the United States, would you say yes, or would you say something else?
I think that's a very good question. And I think that kind of comes back to putting our faith in our representatives and the idea that we're going to have a democracy and that when we go to vote, that it's going to be free and fair. And so that kind of goes back to a case that I saw a couple weeks ago called RNC versus DNC, where you had an issue in Wisconsin with absentee ballots, and that there was a sudden influx of people who wanted an absentee ballot because of the coronavirus, and they're scared to go and vote at a normal regular poll. And so as a result of this, they had a 1-week extension made for those who wanted to vote, and a judge decided to extend it an extra 2 weeks or something, just added an extended deadline. And many people were angered by this because they felt that the voting had already happened and this was after the fact. And this case went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court decided that you can't just add rules, add extensions after the voting, after the fact. And so this is very important because you can't just have trust in that your vote will be just added through a machine, that you have to know that your vote is worth something. So I would hope that it's still one man, one vote, but I'm not 100% sure.
I would also add that depending on where you live, your vote has more weight. For example, I live in Miami-Dade County, and there are so many people voting blue that, for example, if I wanted to vote red, my vote would basically be ignored because of the vast majority of people who vote blue.
Also, and when you have to consider understanding how when you're considering the redistricting and the apportionment of of individuals in a certain district. Like the first thing that comes to my mind is Shaw versus Reno, and I believe it was like roughly 1993. And it came with the problem where we see that pretty much these districts being packed with certain minority group individuals in order to bolster one party's edge over the other. And truly, this is a case where we have to understand that this can be a violation of the 14th Amendment, where we see when a certain party is trying to pack a certain district with one minority versus the other in order to bolster their odds, and that truly sometimes doesn't give the fair, equal rights of voting from one group of individuals to the other. So when understanding, truly, it's vital for the United States to practice a fair and free election, where truly it is a system not where one party is trying to get over the other, but truly emphasizing the fact that no matter your socioeconomic status, your race, or any aspect of the diverse background that you may have, there is still equality for all and still an equal chance to vote amongst many different types of individuals.
And that's time, unfortunately. Florida, nice job.
Thank you.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Now, I wanted to let you know, Frank, we heard everything that you had to say. So,
Great.
Great. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
not disadvantaged in any way, other than the fact that we couldn't, see your face, but hopefully you heard us.
Yes, I did. But thank you very much for taking the time to help me with my technological problems. I apologize for all the inconveniences. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Yes, so you did, this format, as you know, is a little different than what you're used to, and I think you handled it very well. I enjoyed your presentation. I thought your discussion and your presentation of that first bullet point about the responsibilities of the state legislatures and the officials and the citizens, that was very thorough. It was a lot, very complete. A lot more in depth than we've heard in a lot of other presentations. So I really enjoyed that. And I liked you did try to have the constitutional application. You brought up Shaw v. Reno in your follow-up as you were talking about issues of gerrymandering. But I just want to applaud you for dealing with all the issues that you had to deal with, the technological issues that you had to deal with, and it came across very smoothly. We heard everybody. You didn't look nervous at all. So you handled it with grace. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, great.
Thank you.
I will echo Francine's comments on the section that you were talking, the second bullet point section. The idea of citizens not just having a responsibility to vote, but also to report voting violations, to participate in election integrity roles. That was fantastic to have that extra level. We've had people focus on the state legislature or the state officials, but it's also a citizen responsibility and duty as well. For the answer with the trustee system in the trustee and delegate in the US, that was a really good way of understanding that we have both. That most seem to operate in trustee because we have a representative democracy, so de facto kind of seems to be trustee, but we also have both now, especially with increased communication and as we've gotten more modern and we have technology able to use that. And the marijuana example of popular support for legalization versus how a lot of other representatives seem to view it, that was a very great example to really kind of drive home that understanding. So great teamwork in regards to working through that answer. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
So Mike, before you give your feedback, I'm seeing some other folks that have kind of joined in the last minute or two. If for some reason they're from another state, just jump back out for us and we'll let you back in a minute. I'm not sure if Trish or somebody's admitted a few other folks, but just wanted to make sure they were from Florida. But Mike, go ahead.
Trish, you need to say anything about that?
I admitted one of our guests, but I think everybody else is from the next state.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Frank, I'm the only one here who will tell you this. Alexis and Madison didn't want us to let you in. They were just going to keep you out and go on without you. We insisted, no, that's not true. They made us wait, and we're glad that they did. Y'all talked about two things today that I think are have been kind of glaring omissions from the last few days. Campaign finance. Jocelyn works for a member of Congress, and she can tell you that where a member of Congress gets their money and how much they get from a given source, even with federal laws, has a lot of impact on whether they're more inclined to be a trustee as opposed to being a delegate. How brave they are depends on how much money they had to take from an interest or another. And also election funding. I appreciated the fact that you brought up that. In my state, some counties, some circuit clerks mail out postage with absentee ballot applications, and other counties don't. And that just by itself can have an impact on the rate of return of an application. And that some subtleties sometimes have as much impact as constitutional theory. The last thing I'd comment on is the one man, one vote. That's one of my least favorite terms. It's a sexist term. I understand why it's worded the way it is. But I think because of the redistricting laws we passed in my lifetime, but not in yours, and because there's some court rulings on some of them, maybe because of the Electoral College, Florida can certainly relate to that. I'm not sure we pay a lot of attention to the one man, one vote principle anymore. And Francine's the constitutional scholar here. I'd love to hear her give a talk on this sometime, but I think we've gotten away from that. I don't think we try to defend that concept anymore. And I think we've gotten farther and farther from it. In the way we amend our election laws, we don't seem to be thinking about that as much as we should. Trish, for y'all to be able to do this morning with the degree of difficulty, just having to do it on Zoom, much less having Frank work to join us, this would have been fun if we'd been sitting in a hearing room in Leesburg, Virginia. But to watch y'all do this here from 9 or 10 different spots is just remarkable. For all your work and for all of theirs, we were very, very charmed this morning. Thank you.